Two guys in their early 50s with one dream: to achieve middle-aged sporting glory. This is the Missing Links Golf Show. Andy Walker, here we are for another wonderful episode of the Missing Links Golf Show. What do you think?
Yeah, it's good. Loving it. So, you know, I've had a fair bit of stuff going on in the world of golf and in our worlds of golf. So we may as well sit down and talk about it.
I think it's a good plan.
Is it
Yeah.
therapy? Would you call it a podcast or is it more therapy?
Oh, that's a good question. I think it's definitely been therapy from time to time. I think there's
Yeah,
no doubt
yeah.
about that. For us, probably not for anyone else. Probably other people need some therapy after listening to it, but that's a separate issue. But yeah, I think yeah, there's definitely been times when we've processed some stuff
Mm,
live on the microphones, or not
definitely.
live, as it may be.
Mm. Well, live for us.
You'd hope so. Wow, that's a flying start.
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay, I'm well and truly off track already. So in this episode, I think we had a bit of a chat today about what we wanted to talk about because we've got so much on the list that we
Yeah.
want to cover over the next couple of episodes. But as we sit here before the microphones, not long ago, the Open Championship finished. So that's
Mm.
probably a good topic for discussion because wow, there was some stuff that came out of not so much the golf, but definitely
Well,
out
the,
of
well, the, the,
out
the
of the
golf
press
was a bit of a,
conferences.
yeah, the golf was a bit of a foregone conclusion, I think. Certainly at the end of round three and probably a little bit before
Probably at
then.
the
I
end
mean,
of
you could just
end of
see
round
it,
two, really.
similar to the PGA. You could
Yeah.
just see it. I mean, Scotty positioned himself after the first round, made his move through rounds two and three, and then just left everyone in the dust. And yeah, there's always going to be a couple of hiccups. I mean, I think he had a double on eight, but then just came straight back and birdied the ninth. So, it's there wasn't really too much doubt in certainly in my mind. I know we had a discussion, and you text me after round three and said, "Oh, the tournament's pretty much over." And I tried to,
Mm. I
come
know.
back and go, "No, no, it's never over." But
I know. I could
at the
tell
end of the
that you didn't
day,
believe a word of what you were saying in that message. Oh, this could happen, that could happen. Yeah, it could happen, but it
mm,
won't. I
yeah.
think the question is that we're going to have to look into throughout this episode is Scotty man or machine?
Mm, mm. Yes, it's a really good question, of course, and I've done a little bit of a comparison between Scheffler and Tiger. I mean, their stats are quite similar in a lot of ways. Certainly, ball striking wise. And during the telecast, there was a strokes gained comparison done in the best three sort of strokes gained years, and they're very, very close. Tiger and Scheffler are very, very close. I think there was 2 years for Tiger where it was above two, and there was 1 year that was just below. And Scheffler's on track, I think, for his third two plus year of two plus stroke gained, which I think is quite interesting.
It is. It is. We're going to dive into this topic and we're going to dive into it in quite a bit of detail. And I feel like a lot of the focus is going to be unpicking the man, the myth, the legend that is Scottie Scheffler. But before
Mm.
we do that, Andy Walker, there is a voice of the Pilgrims that I want to share with you, if that's okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
Um,
Always look forward to hearing from the Pilgrims.
we love hearing from the Pilgrims. I mean, we say this in the outro after every episode, but we do mean it. We love hearing from the Pilgrims. We love hearing about what makes you tick, what you like about golf, what you struggle with about golf, what you like about the Missing Links Golf Show. That's always interesting to hear. What, you could even put that on a review if you wanted to. You don't have to just tell us, but you can tell the whole world. It does help.
Nice segue. I love it.
You like that?
Yeah.
So that's a bit of homework challenge for the Pilgrims there. See if you can get out there and
Yep.
jump on and give us a review. But this was via the Missing Links Golf Show podcast Facebook group. Post that was popped on there by Azim Kazmani. Azim says, any updates from the hosts on putting? Question
Mm,
mark. He then gives some context. He says, I've been struggling recently. I think green reading has been the issue. Can't hit it well when I can't commit. Now, that's an interesting point. He says, I went back and watched some Aim Point Express videos and spent 30 minutes on a mat at home practicing my putting stroke and hitting the ball straight.
yeah.
Went out today and had my best putting day in a long time. It's a wonder what commitment did to my distance control.
Mm,
The only one I mishit was one where I wasn't committed to the read. I need to get a digital level to feel the difference and know for sure to take this to the next level. Nice pun there, Zim. That and work on the short putts that I overread. But overall, I feel good and appreciate the episodes earlier this season about putting, which helped me get on the right path to fixing it.
mm.
Andy Walker, that is possibly us actually almost maybe helping someone in the real world. How about that?
Almost actually helping someone. I like it.
Yeah,
Yeah, and look, getting a digital level in order to help you with your aim point is one of the best things you can do because I did, as the pilgrims know, I bought aim point, been the best thing that I've well, almost the best thing I've ever done in my golf game, but certainly getting a digital level to assist me with feeling the slope and the different slopes of a green and practicing that and just learning uh, yeah, the aim point system and you know what the slopes actually mean so that I can actually feel it while I'm playing is one of the best, yeah, one of the best things I invested in. So yeah, the digital level's a winner.
absolutely. I mean, it's pretty similar to the Tour Read app using your phone as the digital level.
Mm,
Really, like anything that kind of reinforces and helps you practice, helps you learn how to read things. Read greens, not read things. Read greens is super important. And I actually I feel what Azim is talking about because I feel like the hardest ones to read are the subtle breaks. The ones that's a percent or less, or a degree or less, depending on what language you want to use.
mm,
But the big breakers, they're pretty easy. You can see them quite easily, but it's those more subtle breaks that are harder to read. I think we're going to dive into this in a future episode, so we're probably not going to get into it tonight. But really looking at sort of four elements, which is your putting mechanics, your green reading skills, your distance control, and your mindset around
mm.
putting are probably the four elements, which is it's good to see Azim is picking up on that. So
Yep.
hope it continues to go well.
Yeah, 100%.
All right. So the Open Championship, Andy Walker. Where should we
Mm.
start?
Look, I think maybe we should go back to before the Open Championship, and there was a very I would call it a unique interview with Scottie Scheffler.
Oh, there
Uh,
was, wasn't there?
in,
Absolutely.
and it was very unique because he gave a very different perspective on what he does, why he does it, and what's important in his life. And we've talked about this before, in that a lot of not just golfers but people put their or have their identity tied to their goals and what they achieve,
Mm, mm,
and that can lead to well some mental health issues and some issues where when you actually achieve the goal, there can be a letdown, as in is that all this is? Like I thought it would be more. I thought that I would feel like content and that it would feel different to what it actually feels, because goal achievement is a never-ending process. You get to one mountain and you get to the top and you see there's a bigger mountain over the other side. Whereas it seems that Scottie Scheffler, and I know that he said that his feeling of accomplishment only lasted like 2 minutes. And I don't necessarily think that's true. I
No,
think that
I agree.
that's
I
a,
agree with you there.
I think that that's just something he said in the moment,
Mm,
because he does talk about the accomplishment and the goal achievement, and that he it just seems, and I think it's the week to week grind of being on tour, is that you win one major or two majors, and then you get to the FedEx Cup. I think he used the example, and even though he's won two majors, if he's asked, how bad do you want the FedEx Cup, he's going to go, yeah, well, I want it really bad. So where does that end? Where does the goal achievement end? And that's not what he sees as his most important role in life. He sees his most important role as a family man, as a husband, as a dad. He looks at relationships. And from his perspective, that's what fulfills his deepest needs and deepest wants. And I think it's a really interesting perspective to have, and probably takes a lot of the weight of expectation
mm.
off what he's doing. He did say that he doesn't care whether he's the favorite or not. He's not going out there to inspire anyone to play. He just wants to get out there and be present, be in the moment, and do the best that he can in that moment, which I think is just it's a really refreshing perspective to have, I think, and I think has certainly helped him achieve what he has at this point in time.
Totally agree. And it's a really it was an incredible press conference, because I think he may not have said the exact words, he may have, but essentially what he was saying was golf is what I do, it is not who I am.
Mm,
And that separation of identity from his pursuits, and for a lot of people that might be your job, your career, um, but by doing that, he he frees himself up to be able to succeed, to be able to fail, and it won't change his self-perception.
mm.
We talked about this from the opposite perspective with Rory.
Yep.
Um, you know, and we've talked about this, I think, after each of the majors post his winning of the Masters at Augusta early in the. In fact, I think we really were talking about this with his struggles to close out the US Open last year.
Yes. Mm.
And he has seemed to be. I need to be careful with the words here because we don't know. We haven't spoken to Rory, but just judging from what we see from the outside looking in, he seems to be so heavily connected to the identity of Rory McIlroy, the golfer, and Rory
Mm.
McIlroy, the chaser of majors and the Grand Slam, and achieving the Grand Slam and all of those goals that he's been chasing for a long time. And that's where, when he did win the Masters, that he was talking about how lost he felt, that he'd climbed his Everest and he didn't know what was next, and he didn't have the
Mm.
motivation, and he didn't have something to go on because he was so
Yep.
closely connected to that identity of being the guy that was chasing the Grand Slam. Now, Scotty chooses to play golf because he thoroughly enjoys it and he loves it and he loves the challenge and he loves the grind and he loves the competition, but he doesn't have to be a golfer to still respect himself as a person. And that's just such a massive difference.
Yep.
And I think it's his superpower at the moment that
Mm.
enables him,
I agree.
it enables him to play fearlessly and access all of his skill sets in the big moments because he's not afraid of failing because it doesn't impact his self-perception and his
Mm.
self-esteem.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. 100% agree. 100% agree. And the other thing I picked up in what he said is that at the start of the year, he doesn't actually set outcome-based goals.
Mm,
He just wants to go out there and stay present, practice as much as he can. And he said he just loves practicing, loves competing, loves being in the moment of what he's doing at that time, which again comes back to accessing those skills that allow that just completely frees him up to be able to. I think it's even he plays well, not just at his best, but potentially even pushes himself that little bit further. And we talk about all the greats of the game, not just golf, but sport in general, or most high achievers. In that, in those moments of pressure, they seem to be able to pull something out of their inside, which will allow them to perform at a higher level at just, I don't like the word divine, but at that level that's almost superhuman, as you said, being a superpower, you get to access that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think any professional sportsman in a press conference has actually ever articulated this in the way
No.
that Scotty did in that interview. I mean, you look at some other famous interviews, whether they're post match interviews or in documentaries or whatever. Things like Michael Jordan talking about how his ability to make the clutch play and drop the 3-point bomb on the buzzer to win the game. Well, that's born out of 500 times of failing
Mm.
before he before he gets the winner, and you remember the winners and
Yep.
kind of forget all of the other ones along the way. Kobe Bryant, I think it was, did something, sort of had a similar episode where he was talking about the win or learn
Mm.
philosophy, and
Yep.
the only time you lose is when you give up,
Yep.
and some of those sorts of things. And like, they're great messages, but in terms of unlocking the essence of like what is true mental strength, stable confidence, we talked about that in the last episode. I think Scotty's explanation of I'm not defined by what I do, it's just what I do. I
Mm.
am who I am. Separate to that, I have other important things. The balance that brings, like I said, I don't remember anyone talking about that. And it almost, because you can get this balance slightly wrong as well and come across as I don't care.
Yep.
He absolutely cares.
Oh,
He's
absolutely.
he's
Yeah.
hyper competitive.
He wants to grind his competitors into the dust. There's no
Yeah,
doubt about that.
yeah. But he loves the process. He
Mm.
loves the training paddock.
Yep.
And this is one of those things. I've had this conversation with my kids about wanting to pursue their dreams, and the different ends of the spectrum from sports to arts. But the point with them is that you know asking the question of why do you want to do it, and if the answer is something like I want to be famous, I want to be rich, or I want to be on the TV, or I want to be whatever, well, that's the wrong answer.
Yeah.
If the answer is I love it, I love doing it, doesn't matter if I ever was successful, I would continue doing it anyway.
Mm. Yep.
I love the training paddock. I love the grind. I love practicing. I just love being involved with it.
Mm.
That's Scottie Scheffler.
Yeah. 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 And I get the feeling that he would do what he does, even if he wasn't paid a cent for it.
He would, 100%.
And don't get me wrong, I mean it's a nice bonus that he does and gets paid a lot
But
of money for it.
he also he openly appreciated that.
Yeah.
Talked about how fortunate that he feels to be able to do that.
Mm.
A great outlook, such a good
Yeah.
outlook, and I think one that many professional sports people forget from time to time.
Mm.
When you
Mm.
hear, we come back to the commentary, after the Open, and your solo performance, which I thought was outstanding, by the way, Andy Walker. You should get some kind of an award for that. But listening to the likes of Colin Morikawa and Rory, among others, talking about we don't owe the media anything. We don't owe anyone anything to do interviews post
Mm.
round.
Yep. Yep.
Um, that's starting to go down the arrogance path.
Mm. For sure. For sure.
Um, but Scotty's attitude of gratitude for being able to
Mm.
do this on a daily basis, I think it's the other end of the spectrum. It was spectacular, that press conference. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. Yeah. And the other thing that he said that I think was indicative of his perspective. He said that, yeah, look, in the moment, being at the top and this is sort of coming from sports people, the top of our game. We feel as though this is going to last forever, but it doesn't.
No.
There's going to become a day where he doesn't have the skills that he's currently got, which means that he's not going to be competing at the level that he is. So how does he define himself at that point? And
Mm.
that's where he said, that's why golf, while he's got this incredible desire to compete and to compete as best as he can, that doesn't actually define who he is, and that doesn't that doesn't you know fulfill the deepest levels of his him as a human being.
because it won't. And I think anyone that's achieved any level of zen in their life is
Mm.
going to appreciate the fact that external validation does not fill the well,
Yeah, yeah,
which is kind
yeah,
of what he's saying.
yeah.
It's amazing. And
Absolutely.
look, at a weekend warrior level, for the likes of us, and I would imagine many of the pilgrims, I think the translation to this is no one's suggesting that we're going out there on a Saturday when we're playing the local club Stableford, thinking that this defines me. However, however, it kind of does, um, because what you tend to find is people really do get caught up in what other people think of them on the
Mm.
golf course.
Yep.
And particularly if you turn up club comp paired with a group of people that you don't know all that well, and there is that self consciousness and that concern of like, oh, I'm meant to be an ex handicapper, and I'm having a bad day. People must think that I'm rubbish, and that starts to feed in, and maybe not so obviously in those words, but absolutely the perception that you think others have of you, it definitely plays a role with club golfers. Now, look, the reality is no one cares.
Mm.
No one really
Yep.
spends that much time thinking about it. We're not going to talk about it tonight, but the round of golf that I played on the weekend, there was a guy that was in our group who I've not played golf with before. He was playing off a handicap of 35. So the expectations obviously should be where the expectations are. He was getting very, very grumpy about his game throughout the round every time he hit a bad shot. We did have a
Yep.
conversation at one point where I said to him after he missed about a 15 footer on one of the holes, and he got quite upset about it. I said, mate, how many putts do you think the pros make from 8 feet? And he goes, oh, be about 90%, I think. So it's 50% from 8 feet.
Mm.
They're the best in the
Yep.
world. The best
Yep.
in the world. You're a 35 handicapper that plays once a month. You just got
Yep.
grumpy about missing a 15 footer. I
Yep.
think
Yep.
let's just calm down.
Yep.
That worked. That worked really well.
Yeah. But it's funny you say that because I had I wouldn't say similar conversation with a guy when I was down at Mollymook during the week. Played with a guy, and he didn't have a handicap, but he was probably somewhere in the 18 to 20 range. I think once because he's trying to join the club at the moment. The club's got a bit of a wait list down at Mollymook, so he's I think they said at the end of August he's got a spot, and then he's going to get a handicap and start playing competition. And he said to me, he said, "Oh yeah, I've sort of a little bit anxious, and I've suffered with a bit of anxiety around sort of playing golf, and especially with people that I don't know, and I'm trying to get over it. I'm getting better." I said, I just don't want to. I don't want to, impact other people. If I'm playing bad, I don't want to have a negative impact on what they're doing. And I had that conversation with him. I said, mate, look, at the end of the day, no one cares how you play as long as like you're good company
Yeah.
and you don't act like a pork chop.
Mhm.
Then people are going to enjoy having a round of golf with you. They're going to be so caught up in what they're doing and their own game that they're not going to give a toss what you're doing and whether you're having, as a, 20, 25 handicapper, if you only have sort of 20 or 25 points, they don't care.
Does not matter.
As long as you're showing respect and showing the appropriate level of etiquette in the game, then
Mm.
it's going to be a good day for them. And
Yeah.
he sort of went, yeah, that makes a lot of sense actually.
Yeah. Well done, Andy Walker. And you said, here's the link to my podcast. You can listen. All, you can learn all about it here. Um, but it's true. And, I think sometimes the getting grumpy on the course is through misplaced expectations. It's also at times a bit of a defense mechanism to kind of demonstrate that I'm usually better than this. So I'm angry at
Yep,
myself. So don't judge me based on this performance. I'm usually a far better player than this. You do see that with
yep.
juniors quite a lot. Um, but it doesn't make you play any better. And it certainly
No,
doesn't make you better company.
no.
So there are better ways of dealing with it.
Yeah,
Radical
yeah.
acceptance being the answer wherever you can.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
and that's exactly it. It's the acceptance of the fact that you've got a process, you follow your process, and once you make a swing and make contact with the ball, that's it. You can't really do too much more about it, and you've got to accept whatever that outcome is.
exactly. So look, Scotty, what an attitude!
Mm,
And if you don't learn anything from Scotty's golf swing, and let's be honest, maybe shouldn't, um, definitely learn something from Scotty's outlook. I
yeah,
think there is
yeah.
there
I
that
think
that's
yeah, I
that's
think
amazing.
that outlook is something we can all take, well, not just a little bit from, a lot from, and implement into our own perspective.
Mm. So the flip side to that, we mentioned sort of throughout this discussion was Rory, and Rory, his troubles have been well documented by us and others. But I've got to say, Andy Walker, my take on Rory in the Open Championship, it's the best I've seen him
Mm.
mentally since
Yeah,
the Masters.
he looked a lot more at peace,
Mm.
not just with himself, but with the media, with the general surrounds, and just who he is as now a career Grand Slam champion. I think I don't know if he's let go of that. Um, the negativity that we thought he had, but certainly I think that he seems to have just given where he's at a bit of consideration, a little bit of thought, and maybe redefined where he is and what that means, and what it means for Rory McIlroy.
Yeah, I'd love to know what's gone on. It could be as simple as you said before we hit record, that he was back in home territories,
Mm,
home crowds, and that might have been enough to help him relax and reset a little bit. He might have done some soul searching. He might have had some good conversations with Bob Rotella. He
mm.
might have listened to Scotty's interview and got something out of that as well. I mean, that's not outside the realms of possibility.
Mm,
Um,
mm. What uh,
so
what what I think, because he did say that after the PGA, he was gonna take I think it was after the US Open, he was gonna take some time, go back sort of home, and take some time before the Scottish Open, just to relax and get away from everything, which was obviously the advice that we gave him.
correct.
So yeah, he obviously listened to that podcast and took our
Yeah.
advice.
I did catch one of the press conferences that he held after it could have been the second round, and he was talking about the pilgrimage that he's been on of late, which I thought was a bit of a giveaway.
Mhm.
So, and he also said that after playing a lot of golf in the US, he was looking forward to getting back to Ireland and because he'd been missing the links. So
I
again, I
like
thought
it.
that was another oblique reference to his favorite podcast. So, you know, anything's possible. Andy Walker.
Maybe.
You never know. Hi,
No,
Rory.
look, but
Hope you're out there.
in all seriousness, I think I do think it's good to see Rory just look a lot more at peace, and he actually looked like he was enjoying himself.
He did.
And whether
He
that's
did. He
the
did.
just being in front of his home crowd in Northern Ireland, I'm not sure, but yeah, he certainly just looked happier than what he has of late, which I think is a really good thing.
Oh, it's a great thing. It's so good to see because, gee, it's been hard to watch.
Mm,
Watching him get around and struggle and be cranky and angry and all those sort of nasty comments in press conferences and some of the things that's been going on. It was so good to see Rory smiling, enjoying golf again because he's electric on his day, and I think
mm,
we want to see Rory at his best,
yeah,
challenging Scotty at his best. Because I think that can only be good for golf and certainly good for
yeah,
viewing. And it'd be great to see a major go down to the line with those guys shooting it out and playing their best
yeah.
golf.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And we
I'd
haven't
love to see.
really seen like a great rivalry now for a long time. I mean, even Tiger. Tiger had, a couple of golfers. You look at David Duval and even Ernie Els a couple of times challenged Tiger.
Phil, you've
Phil
got to
Phil
throw Phil in there.
Mickelson a couple of times, but no one you never saw say. You go back in time to say, Faldo and Norman, or
Mm.
even before that, sort of, Jack Nicklaus and Tom Watson, or these great rivalries where you see two great golfers coming into the end of a major championship and just fighting it out and being at their best.
What
I'd
about
really like to see.
Tiger and Rocco Mediate?
What wasn't the first one that came to mind? Uh,
They had a 19
or
hole playoff for the US Open, so that was
or
pretty good.
who was the guy who he beat in the PGA Championship in 2000? What was his name? I'll come back to you with that, but yeah, he was of similar status to Rocco Mediate.
Yeah, yeah, I vaguely remember that one. Yeah, no, you're right. But there is a crop of fantastic golfers getting around at the moment. I mean, you've got obviously Rory that we mentioned, a couple of others that I think we need to talk about, in particular Bryson DeChambeau. There's Rambo, there's Xander. Um, you know, there's there's a few really, really good quality golfers. There's Colin
Mm,
Morikawa, even JT, who's playing well at the moment. Like some outstanding players, but Scotty is just a cut above.
yeah,
And it's not because of the Tiger spectacular heroics.
no,
It's because of the
the
consistency, the
the
discipline.
relentlessness.
Yeah, yeah, that's a really good word. It's
Mm,
almost like um, you can feel that he's coming, and in a different way to Tiger freaking
mm,
everyone out on the leaderboard, making a Tiger charge on a Sunday. Scotty,
yeah,
there's just this sense of inevitability about him. Um,
mm, yeah,
and I think that was even talked about by a few of the players after round three, about just this inevitability of Scotty Scheffler on the leaderboard. But
mm,
and he's just solid.
yeah,
He yes, he makes the odd mistake, but he bounces back. I think his bounce back percentage is probably better than anyone else at the moment of making a birdie after a bogey.
yeah,
But it's generally out of making good decisions and just executing sensible shots to the center
yeah,
of greens. It's not about playing hero shots to tucked pins and those sorts of things. It's about playing the
mm,
percentages. Like his decision making and his game management is probably peerless at the moment.
yeah, yeah. And
I
if
would
you
say.
look at that comparison, I mean, I would question certainly at this point in time. I think Scotty Scheffler is probably an even better ball striker than what Tiger was. Tiger had a tendency, especially with his driving, to go off target a little bit, and then just had some amazing recoveries
Yeah.
from positions that he really had no right to make recoveries from. But Tiger he was really exciting. He pumped up the crowd. He had that energy about him that was almost mesmerizing to watch. I mean, if you're talking about that PGA championship in 2000 where he ran the putt in and pointed to the hole
Yeah. 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 You're not
as
going to
it
see
was
Scotty
dropping
do
in.
that.
I mean, there's the 2001 Players Championship, the better than most
Mm,
putt from across the green on 17. I mean, the Masters chip in
mm.
on 16 in 2005, and then talk about Rocco Mediate reminds me of the putt on 18 in the 2008 US Open. He's just Tiger had this ability to just provide these unbelievable moments that
Mm.
were just, as I said, that they were mesmerizing, and you just sit there and wonder how does he just pull all these moments, out of the hat so consistently, whereas Scotty just grinds you into the dirt. Like
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
not boring. I don't think it's boring, but it's so and I think relentless is the right
It's a
word.
good
He he
word. It's a good
he
word.
he's so
Yeah.
relentless that it becomes inevitable that he ends up at the top of
Yeah.
the leaderboard.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting that just listening to you describe all those shots that I can remember, and probably everyone listening can remember that you're talking
Mm.
about Tiger pulling it off, and
But
there are always
that's only a small
it
basket
is,
of
it is,
shots
it is,
in the
yeah,
myriad of other shots
yeah,
that he played.
and there's plenty of them, but yes, you're right. Quite often they are recoveries, or they're from being slightly out of position, or they're shots you don't expect him to make. You go through the Scottie Scheffler highlight reel, and it would sound a bit different. It'd be like, oh, I remember Scottie sinking the 6-footer uphill on 18, and oh, I
Yep.
remember Scottie sinking the 6-footer uphill on 14, and I remember Scottie sinking the 6-footer uphill on,
Yep.
like
Yeah.
it's just
100%.
this. It's such good golf
Yeah.
that it's so stress free a lot of
Mm.
the time, and therefore it is maybe without that, some of those crescendo moments, or some of those, incredible um, commentator opportunity moments, the better
Mm.
than most, and
Yeah.
those sorts of remarks. Yeah, he's an aggregate of great decisions and great execution,
Mm.
and it's different. Um, it's no less incredible. It's probably requires more talent, more discipline, more concentration to do it that way. But he certainly has a method, and that method is extremely good.
Mm. Mm. Yeah. And I'm going to be very interested to see how long he can maintain that level. And that's the big question mark, right? I mean, the comparisons are there with Tiger at the moment, and obviously we're drawing comparisons to Tiger because, he is at that level at the moment. But Tiger was there for, well, more than a decade. So can Scotty, reach
Well,
that
I
and stay at that point? Or, is
think
there going to be the inevitable, or is it inevitable that he has the down moments?
I think the thing is that he loves, as we talked about before, he loves the process. He loves the grind. He's not just in it for the glory moments. Um, so I would suggest that there's every chance, so long as he doesn't get injured and he stays fit, that he could maintain it for as long as he wants to.
Mm,
Um,
mm.
Interesting that he talked about, as soon as golf gets in the way of his commitments to his family, he would be okay to walk away from it because he puts his family first. I mean, I
Yep.
rate that in a guy. I think that's an awesome outlook. Um,
Mm.
so there's always those elements that could mean that he doesn't love the training ground as much anymore if it's taking him away from, his family. So a decade's a long time. Who knows?
Mm.
Um, the swing that he's got, I've always felt like if he starts getting out of sync, then that could go, that could be interesting because there's just too many moving parts in it. But
Yeah, there are a lot of moving parts.
it's worked so far. So like, yeah, who am I to judge?
Mm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And that's what I think is the thing to watch, to see if where he's at and the swing that he's got, and given how many moving parts he's got in his swing, yeah, it's working incredibly well at the moment. And you've got to take the hat off to him for him to have got to the position that he has with all of those moving parts. But can he maintain it? And he's going to have to maintain it. I mean, what's it now been 3 or 4 years that he's been at that level? And as I said, Tiger was certainly, when he burst onto the
Mm.
scene in the 97 Masters through to, 2008, 2009, when he had the sort of bust up with his misses. I mean, that was sort of Tiger's prime. But then, injuries had an impact on Tiger as well. The
Absolutely.
other thing that I've listened to a couple of commentators talk about is how many times Tiger changed his swing.
I was just about
And
to say that.
and if
Just about to
Tiger
say
didn't,
exactly that. Yeah.
yeah, if Tiger hadn't gone through all the swing changes that
No.
he'd made, would his results have been different, as in better than what they were?
So we will never know. I
Mm,
would I would think, yes, I can't imagine that taking a swing that is that dominant in world golf and saying, I'm not happy with it, I'm going to change it.
yeah,
I just can't imagine that's a good idea, right? Like, I
yeah, yeah,
really can't. And I think that could be the difference with Scotty, because he
yeah.
doesn't seem to be interested in
No,
going down that rabbit hole.
No, no, no. And Jack Nicklaus as well, the who I consider to be the greatest golfer of all time. I could never have imagined Jack making. I mean, he made subtle swing changes throughout his
Mm,
career, but certainly not the big swing changes that Tiger tried to make on a couple of different occasions. And I know he had sort of back issues and he had a number of injuries and operations on his back, so maybe some of those were a necessity. But like Jack, I just can't see Scottie Scheffler making those big swing changes.
yeah, unless he has
I
to for
see,
some reason, I can't imagine
yeah,
he would. Yeah,
I see him more just staying in the grind and staying present and you keeping his love of practice.
yeah, that was a pretty solid Scotty loving that we just had for about the last 20 minutes. But deservedly so, because I think I've been guilty of this, like so many people, of saying that he plays boring golf, and I even felt when he had a substantial lead after round three of the Open, I was not particularly inspired to watch the last round
Mm,
because I just thought it would be a victory lap, and it turned out pretty much to be that way. Um, but that's not to say that it's not worth watching, because I just think that it's all the stuff that you don't see that makes him as great as he is. And
yep.
maybe trying to understand that would actually help all of us play a little bit better golf in our own games. Um, but there is a guy who I wouldn't mind getting your opinion on, Andy Walker, throughout the Open Championship. Probably a tale, like so many golfers can tell, of what might have been.
Mm,
I think you know where I'm going with this is Bryson DeChambeau.
mm. Didn't have a great first round.
Oh, mate, 78. Come on. What are you
Mhm.
doing, Bryson?
Yeah, and I think we said before we came on air that his second, third, and fourth round, even if he'd had his worst round of those three rounds, which was 68, he would have won by two,
Yeah.
which I'm sure that Bryson probably looks back and goes, why?
Mm.
Why didn't I just even a 70, well, one under par would have had him even with Scottie Scheffler. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think Bryson will certainly look back at this Open Championship at what might have been.
Mm. Mm. Playing some good golf at the moment, though. Just,
Mm.
yeah. I mean, I suppose the critics out there could say, well, he can only play three competitive rounds. And he had a warm up
Do,
round on
do,
day
do,
one and
do,
then
do you
played
think
three
he
competitive
thought the
rounds.
first
So,
round
like,
was practice?
it
Like,
was it was the pro am, wasn't it?
it was pretty funny.
So,
Yeah, I mean that's a theory.
yeah.
Could maybe send in some communication just to put the theory out there to see what he thinks.
Sorry, Bryson. We're joking. But like he, I mean, I don't know. Actually, I'm going to take that back, because I was about to say he's really unlocked something with his battles with links golf, but at the same time, the weather didn't really ask the questions that it might have done for links golf this time
No,
around.
no.
Um,
Certainly rounds three and four were quite benign when it comes
yeah.
to links golf, and I mean that certainly helped the scoring. But even still, I mean, you take sort of Scheffler out of the way, and 13 under
Mm.
was the second best. And I don't know. I mean, you look at the scores historically. I think the last time it was at Portrush, I think Shane Lowry had 15 under. But then,
Yeah, he did, but then it was
anything,
daylight second. It was like about five or
yeah.
six shots until second. So yeah.
But a lot of the time it is that sort of 13 to 15 under that wins an Open
Mm.
Championship. I mean, Cam Smith shot 20 under at St Andrews, and I think that was very benign. Well, not
It
I
was.
don't think it was. It was very benign
It was.
in 2022. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think links golf is tough when the weather turns against the players. Whereas if it's benign conditions, that's when you can really see some low scoring.
That is true. Um, so well played, Bryson. I do want to move on, get your thoughts on another player. in the field. I mean, we talked about boring golf before, but I think this is definitely in that category, and that is the man that came second, Harris English.
He didn't really
He
like
just he just strolled around the course and
yeah.
kind of at the end of the day, there he was,
Mm. Yep. Which is sort of what he did at the PGA Championship, wasn't it?
pretty much.
Yeah.
That's what he does. That's how he
Yeah.
plays the game. I mean, he plays good golf. Obviously, he's playing good golf, but yeah, did you buy a ticket to watch it? Probably not.
Well, it certainly doesn't have the excitement factor that say, a Rory or a Bryson does.
Mm,
But I mean, we just said not neither does Scotty, but Scotty's great to watch from a different perspective.
yeah, yeah. I'm not putting Harris in the Scottie Scheffler bracket at all.
No, no, I think that's stretching it a bit, but certainly, yeah, Harris English has had a couple of really good results in majors this year.
Mm. Oh, he has. He has. Someone that hasn't is Cam Smith.
Cam who?
Yeah. What is going on with Cam Smith?
I think that he's I think he's that lost that internal drive that he needs to have to be at the top of world golf. I think he's found his comfort zone and he's
Totally
in his
agree with
comfort
that.
zone.
Yeah.
If you listen to the reasons why he went to live, and what his life's like now. Sort of, and I know Mark Leishman had a good tournament, but Mark Leishman's in a similar situation, and I don't begrudge it at all. If that's how they choose to engage with their golf and with their life, then that's great. I mean, Mark Leishman spends a lot of time at home apparently, and loves mowing his lawn and getting
Mm,
barefoot and getting his lawn as good as what it can be. And you come back to what Scotty said. If that's if that's something that he wants and fulfills his deepest needs as a human being, then that's great. I'm really really happy for him. But sort of coming back to Cam Smith, um, I think going to live it's made it easy for him.
mm.
Certainly financially and from a lifestyle perspective, he's not in the grind of big tournament 4 round competition, and I think you need that sort of week in week out to be able to have that edge in a major championship, and I think his results speak for themselves.
I do too. And I think when we're talking about Scotty, we're talking about the fact that Scotty, from what we've seen, um, loves the grind, loves the process,
Mm,
loves the competition, loves the training ground, loves all of those things that you need to love to be great. If someone is saying, I'm going to go and sign with Live because it's going to enable me to play less golf and spend more time at home, that doesn't make me think that this is the sort of
mm,
person that loves the grind and loves the training
mm.
ground and loves doing all the
Yeah.
things that's going to make them great.
Loves a beer apparently.
Yeah. Beer's
and
fine.
and look, nothing against that. Been
Yeah.
been there once or twice myself, but
Yeah.
to get to where he was at the top of world golf, that's a tough life. I mean, that's you can't. There's no shortcuts to get there. You've got to go the
No.
long road, and you've got to engage in the grind. And I think after that sort of great year that Cam had, and then moving to live. I don't think he's engaging in that long road in that grind anymore. I think he's happy with
Oh,
where he's
he's
at.
absolutely
I
not.
think he's comfortable and
Yeah.
that's where he is. And again, if that's what fulfills his deepest needs, then that's great. Look, I'm not not having a go at him at all. In fact, I'm really happy for him. But I certainly think that his golf is suffering as a result.
Well, it's where it deserves to be, I think
Mm,
is the truth. Um, without the hard yards and the work and all of the sacrifice that goes along with that, is it's where it's going to be, and that's missing cuts.
Mm,
That's just the way it is. But unfortunately, his exemptions are going to dry up, and he'll drift off into the live sunset. Unless
mm,
unless something substantial happens in terms of world ranking points from live events or a reunification of the tours. But assuming that everything remains as it currently is at the moment, you're just going to expect to stop seeing him on the big stage at some point in the not too distant future, which is a
mm.
shame because the guy's
Yeah,
got so much talent.
yeah,
But
yeah.
it's not a shame if it doesn't float his boat. So,
Mm, mm. Well, I think
yeah,
he's got a 10-year exemption to the Open.
yeah,
So that's through to 2032, and I think he's got a 5-year exemption to the other majors.
yeah,
So
that's right.
that's
So
coming
that's
up in the next
only,
couple of years.
that's right. That's 2 years away. So, you know, that'll be interesting to watch. Um, but what else stood out for you, Andy Walker?
Um, Look, I think there's a couple of strokes gained data stats that I'd like to talk about. And again, if you look at Scottie Scheffler, I mean, ball striking, ball striking, ball striking. That's
Yep,
that's his forte, and his strokes gained putting. He wasn't. I mean, it was at plus 0.78, which is okay. I mean,
pretty good.
it's up there, but certainly you look at, say, Harris English at plus 3.43, and then a couple below, tie for fourth, Wyndham Clark at plus 0.2.7. It certainly wasn't up there with the best. I haven't sort of counted down to where he finished up, but it was sort of, in the top half, but only just. Um, but I think the strokes gain data is a very telling story around certainly ball striking. And if I can go and just sort of surmise sort of the tour stats, because and again I heard other commentators today talking about driving accuracy.
Mhm.
So I had a look at driving accuracy on the PGA Tour, and the guy who's number one, a guy by the name of Paul Peterson, has hit
Oh,
73.88 fairway
okay.
percentage, so 430 fairways out of a possible 582.
It's not bad.
Now, Scottie Scheffler, from a driving accuracy perspective, is number 51.
Okay.
So his driving percentage is 62.16. So he's hit 552 out of 888
Yeah,
fairways.
I don't like this stat. Got to be honest.
However, strokes gained off the tee, he's number one.
Yeah. See, a point.
So he's
Don't.
uh, he's he's number one at 0.708.
So, because one of the things with driving accuracy as being defined as hitting fairways or not hitting
Mm,
fairways, um, I'd be interested to know your deviation off the center, for
mm.
one of a better metric.
Yep.
When is your like what does your dispersion look like? Is maybe a better way of saying that.
Mm.
What's the width of your dispersion cone?
Yep. Yep.
Um,
Yeah. And
because
even length, and we talk about length
yeah,
a lot on the show, in that, if you're, say, 320 yards off the tee, but you're in the slight rough, you're going to have a better
mm,
strokes gained data than someone who's, say, 250 yards, who's only hit an iron off the tee, but in the middle of the fairway.
mm,
And that's purely from, you know, uh, from where you are, 250 yards off the tee. Say you might have, 170 yards still into the green. You're not going to get it as close as what you will if you're 320 yards off the tee, having a much shorter iron into the green. It's even though you're in the light rough, because you're hitting a short iron rather than a sort of mid to long iron, then you're always, well, not always, but in the vast majority of cases, you're going to get closer.
mm,
And I think that's the driving accuracy where that really skews and gives inaccurate picture of how good you are off the tee. Whereas your strokes gain data, which obviously Scotty's number one. In fact, Scotty's number one in strokes gained tee to green, strokes gained approach to approach to the green is and strokes gained total. So out four of the six stats, he's number one in
Yeah,
strokes gained data.
yeah, yeah. I mean, strokes gain approach, I would argue, is probably where it's at.
Mm,
Um, I don't know where Paul Peters is for his distance off the tee or his approach play or anything like that, but I
didn't
would
have a
hazard
look.
a guess he's probably not pumping it out as far as Scotty.
No, no,
Otherwise,
no.
we
But
probably would know a little bit more about him.
yeah, but strokes gained total 2.64 strokes gained per round,
Yeah,
which is
it's
just
hard. It's hard.
incredible.
Yeah,
It's incredible.
yeah, yeah. Man or
So
machine? I ask
yeah,
you.
so again, I mean, if you talk about what the groundwork is to be able to play great golf week in week out, then I still, while short game and putting, if you're on the day, that's what sort of leads you to your great scores. But I certainly think the foundation, the base level, always needs to come back to ball striking and having good ball striking stats.
Yeah, there's no doubt. There's absolutely no doubt. And it's generally where most people are going to be able to pick up a few shots as well,
Mm.
by improving that side of the game.
Yep.
Mm. Well, there you go, Andy Walker. That's quite the summary.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. So I look, as much as I think it's great that Scotty won and he did in the fashion that did. I think sort of, digging into those data sets and certainly into the mindset as well, just it just unlocks, I think, quite a few secrets that we can all take from his perspective and from his performance, where we can implement that into our own games and our own mindset.
You know, the thing is, it takes no talent
Mm,
to have a great mindset.
yep.
Um, and that's something that's achievable for anyone. Will it make you a better player? Well, maybe, maybe not. But a bad mindset will definitely make you a worse player. So at least getting your mental approach right gives you a half a chance and puts you in the
Mm,
best position possible
yep.
to play the best golf that you can play. I think you might have even talked about that in our last episode, actually, Andy Walker, about having a good mental approach will help you access your skills. It won't do it for you. You still got to do it. But a bad approach will definitely prevent you.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Yep. Yep.
and that I think when
Completely
we look
agree.
at when we look at the Open and we look at the things we can take out of it, I think um, that press conference from Scotty, that for me, that's where it's all at. That was just absolutely brilliant listening to that.
Mm. Yeah, I agree. I agree. Well, one last thing I'd like to cover off as well is just the dismal performance of the Aussies
It
at the
really
Open
was.
Championship.
Yeah, it really was one of
Like
the
we
worst.
had one Aussie make the cut, being
Yeah.
Mark Leishman, but Adam Scott, Jason Day, Cam Smith, Elvis Smiley, Minwoo Lee, Lucas Herbert all missed the cut.
No, it was not good enough, to be honest. And I think it's fair to say for many, many episodes I have talked about how big a fan I am of Min Woo.
Mm.
Um, Starting to wear a bit thin, his performance on the big stage. And I wonder if Min Woo needs to maybe have a bit of a chat with Scotty about sorting out the mental side of his game. Because there's definitely no
Mm.
question that he's got the game to be able to compete. But I'm not sure. Maybe, you know what? Maybe Min Woo needs to have a chat with Minji.
That was exactly what I was going to say, that he just needs to pick up the phone to his sister because she's on a bit of a tear at the moment. I mean,
She's
you know,
amazing.
yeah,
She's amazing. And
yeah,
you know what? We haven't talked enough about Minji Lee and her performances on the LPGA and
yeah,
in
yeah.
majors. And you know who else we haven't talked about is Grace Kim.
Grace Kim. We haven't talked about Grace Kim. That was one
What a
thing I was
finish
talking
that
about
was.
Aussies. I was going to mention that before the end of the episode. I mean, I watched that and what she did was just
That was nuts.
that was Tiger-esque.
That
What
was.
what she did. I mean, you talk about Scotty just being relentless and grinding everyone into the dirt. Yet, Tiger just pulls stuff out of his whatever
Golf
it's
bag.
yeah,
Yep.
out of his golf bag to be able to just you know have an amazing finish. I mean, what Grace Kim did. I mean, finishing eagle in regulation, chipping in for birdie on the first playoff hole, and then eagling the second playoff hole. I mean,
Just crazy.
yeah, yeah,
Just
yeah,
crazy.
yeah.
So
And
good.
and I know there's been some big raps on her for quite a few years, but even more so now. I heard an interview with Cara Webb, and she said that now that she's got one, shackles may break, and she might win a few.
She has got game. About, I don't know, 5 years ago, maybe. I'm trying to remember exactly when it was. Grace won a regional qualifier to get into the New South Wales Women's Open. And that regional qualifier that she won was at Dubbo Golf Club.
Oh yeah, yep, yep.
So I was fortunate enough to see her take my home course apart.
Mm,
Um, just fantastic golfer. And
yep.
that was I think that was just before or just as she turned pro.
Mm,
It might have been just before. She may have won that as an amateur. Um, yeah, it was pretty special. So
yeah, yeah.
she absolutely can play the game. There's no question.
Yeah, yeah, and it's great to see the girls doing really well. I mean, obviously Minji and Grace Kim, but Hannah Green's won
Mm,
a major in recent years, and I mean the girls are just excelling in the game, and I
yeah.
think it's a really good indictment of where golf is certainly in the women's game in this country. It's very very strong, and yeah, I think it's great to see.
Maybe we need to find a 50-year-old female co-host, Andy Walker. Teach us a thing or two about the game. I
I
don't know.
actually do know one.
Okay.
Mm.
Well, there you go.
I'll,
Special guest,
I'll,
perhaps.
yeah, maybe. I have thought about inviting her on the show, so we'll see. We'll
Okay.
see if that works out.
Okay. Stay tuned, pilgrims.
Mm.
All right. Well, that's a pretty good wrap up, I think, of the Open Championship. Andy Walker, is there anything else that you want to share with the pilgrims before we pull stumps for the
No,
session?
I think that's about it. We've yeah, as I said, I think there's a lot there. We didn't sort of do a sort of shot by shot analysis as we've done with other majors, but I just think that there's so much more to what happened around the Open
Mm.
to that we can all pull from that. So I think it's been a really good wrap.
No, I agree. I agree. And there's a lot coming up in the next few episodes, Pilgrims. We've got to talk about Andy Walker's recent trip to Mollymook,
Mm,
to
yes.
the homecoming for his old stomping grounds, and a good catch up with Ted from Mollymook. We've got to talk about my recent competition round, which took place just over the weekend during the midst of the Open Championship. Actually, that happened.
Were you
Um,
inspired?
I don't know. You're gonna have to wait and find out. Can't give it away now.
Yeah.
Um,
We've got to cover the
we
putting.
got to talk about putting for
Mm,
Azim. We've got to go there. Um, have been chasing a guest for that one, but haven't been able to get diaries to line up. So we'll see how that
mm,
pans out. Otherwise, certainly one that we can delve into nevertheless because it's an
yeah.
important topic. Um, there's a few things that we've got to
Yeah.
talk about.
Well, we've got a lot coming up. So yeah, it's going to be a good next few episodes.
And pilgrims, if there's anything else that you think that we should cover, please let us know through the usual channels. You'll hear about them in just a moment in the wrap up. But I think get out there, join the Facebook group, the Missing Leaf Golf Show podcast. Leave us a review. No harm in that. 5 stars would be okay. See how you go.
I agree.
And whilst you're thinking about doing all of those sorts of things, Andy Walker, is there anything else that pilgrims should potentially be doing with their spare time?
Rock out, pilgrims.